sad for the kids is like, I had a childhood without all of that. I had a childhood where I didn't worry that I was going to go to a party and drink in high school and someone was going to upload it to social media. It was bad enough. We had people taking like literal photos that you would get developed at CVS and bringing those into school that they would get confiscated and someone would get in trouble for drinking at a party and kicked off the team.
I forgot about that.
Now kids are scared to do anything, but it's like.
I know it is sad though, because I forgot that we were talking about that when we initially like started just going down the social media rabbit hole, was that exact thing of I had no fear. I mean, we say our podcast is called Do It for the Story. Like, that was a line that we started saying in high school, in college, because we were like, fuck it, let's
do it for the story.
Let's have
like
fun.
A perfect example. It's like, this musician sound guys want to take us on the tour bus. Should we go to Philly? Do it. Do it for the story. We will figure out a way to get you guys back.
Yeah, do it.
It was real, and it was Pharrell.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, and I remember you guys called me and Lindsay, and we were like,
Kiki and I called you and Lindsay, and we were like, so
there's no...
Pharrell's crew want us to come. They're playing at Tiger Fest, Towson. They are telling us that they have a show in Philly, like, to come with us. We didn't go because we felt bad leaving our friends, but Morgan was hellbent. Like,
I was hellbent.
Go.
Do
it for the story. Just, we will figure it out. We will get you guys a ride back from Philly.
That's not that far. I'm like,
so
this was my own time of the Greyhound bus.
This
I was
also
like,
maybe is a good segue, because I was going to say on the sex part too. I mean, that's okay. That's funny, me telling that of like how we're like, go, we'll figure it out. But there's also the scary side of it with social media, which is sex trafficking.
Dude, that's the piece for me that I'm like, I mean, you all know, like, we don't use my son's name on the pod. You know, we use the nickname of Angel, because that's what I call him anyway. But it's not, and obviously because this is a public thing, but that's also my private account. I don't post Angel on there. Donahue doesn't either. Like, I don't... Like,
you've posted a few times, maybe.
No, I've never have. And the only times...
Donahue has.
And he took him down. He did that during COVID, and he took him down. And Donahue has 50 followers.
Yeah, he doesn't really use it.
You know, not saying that people's accounts can't get hacked, which they can, which I think you need to... people need to really think about that. Oof. But even if your account isn't hacked and it's private and you have 900, 1,000 followers and you're posting your kid on there, are you really close enough friends with all those people to truly know what is happening on their account, who has exposure to their account? It's all those things, because your kid's face and body, especially with this permanent forever AI
is here and it ain't leaving.
You can take anyone's face. There have already been moments of high school girls' faces getting bullying, getting their faces getting taken and putting on a porn star. You think that all these child sex traffickers are going to hesitate about putting your kid's cute little face on a naked kid's body?
Which is really sad.
Oh, I saw that.
Been really bad where they were, I know it's happened multiple
sad.
times. But a recent story, I think it was a school in Pennsylvania where like a group of teachers was targeted on TikTok. And they were like, my relationship has been destroyed. Like, where children were accusing, not accusing them, but they made up rumors.
They were like harassing
and
them.
saying they were this one was a pedophile and this one did this and that. They were literally using social media, making rumors and making videos like go viral in a sense of their school community about these teachers.
To try and fuck up their teachers.
How damaging.
Yeah.
But with the sex trafficking piece, like you said, and granted, I don't have any children and I know everybody deals with it differently. And again, people didn't know this was a tool.
Totally.
This was, because it really is, it's a tool. It's not a toy, it's a tool. Social media. Nobody knows how to interact with it, but it's not just that. It's always evolving. Because like we say, especially in the digital world,
the goal is always to be
winning, to beating your competitor, to be keeping people, more users, more action, more people interacting and staying there. So you have to constantly change and evolve the product.
And the continuous scroll, like, that wasn't a thing when Instagram came out.
Because
that wasn't
Reels
a thing.
is like, they're like, we love Reels because Reels just keeps people keeping it imminent.
Yeah.
And they don't even know what's next. But the sex trafficking piece, because again, everyone not to scare. Not this isn't us being like, oh, you're a terrible parent if you post your
but
kid.
I think people are
but
not
it's
aware.
Awareness because
I
would say, and so maybe I could be the anti-hat who's like, I work in big tech and I do have the spare time to just read and have time to myself and whatever
and we have exposure to people that have had exposure to these exact scenarios,
have exposure.
Cases,
we have friends in law enforcement who specifically work and have worked in forensics around child sex trafficking. And, a lot of them are like, yeah, no, I would never post my child on social media.
And that was before AI.
Yes.
Got big in the last year.
Yes. And they were like, I wouldn't because of what I've seen. And you have, sure, there's different scenarios, right? You have the sex traffickers that are going to intentionally target vulnerable children, specifically a lot of young girls who are from, broken homes or who live in shelter, like, not hard to look at a geotag, right? And figure out what somebody's doing in their path and their story. You have that where you're thinking, well, that's not me. Angel lives in a safe house. He's got a great family. Then you also have the folks that are, how do you trust anyone with, like, what is it where people are able to see, oh, that woman lives in this neighborhood and she goes to this school and they're on vacation and this person's here. And also when you're public and then you're geotagging and like you, without even trying, are actually in an algorithm, if you're looking at a location or a hashtag, or it's screenshots. You don't have to have a private account for that one person rando that, you just used to accept every public account. Yeah. You used to accept everybody's request because you're like, oh, great, I'm growing my follower base, or, I am in college and this is a new tool and I'm saying yes to anybody who's reached out to me. I have friends on Facebook, or had, because I've scrubbed it, that I literally were people that friended me in college who I never met in person.
Exactly.
And I didn't even realize they were still a friend of mine until I scrubbed it years ago.
Yep.
And so you have those other people, but that will target that. But then it's also the times where it's kids not knowing, oh, I'm getting reached out to by this photographer. They said I could be a model. Cool. Or I'm annoyed with my parents. This guy's 28. 28's not that old. I'm only 15.
And you think you're so old. I remember thinking I was thinking how old I was.
Yes.
Especially in middle school. Just thinking I was damn near an adult, and I understood why, because I totally understood the world.
Yep. And it's interesting you said that too, because I think, well, even in this one article I was actually reading, because in preparation of this, we were kind of talking about it. And this one was more of the horrific, right? Where they were talking about sex trafficking and how Facebook and Instagram specifically, Facebook the most widely used, but Instagram a close second, widely used platforms for sex traffickers. And they were saying that, a lot of these sex traffickers will target, the more vulnerable communities, but they also will target oftentimes LGBTQIA plus children, minorities, Black and brown girls, because one, they also will see too that they're like, sometimes with the minority girls, they can appear to look older than their age. So even when you say that too about how, I thought I was so old then, and we knew what it was like too, like, I always had, again, puberty. I wasn't delayed in development at all. Yeah. So, like, when you're a high schooler or a 14-year-old, you can have a pretty, womanly body. And that is that age where it's gross. You start getting looked at by grown-ass men. So now, rather than me being this young girl that had to experience the, ew, look at that old guy that could have been my dad's age looking at me, now that guy could look at me and without leaving my home, and I don't know. And so in this article, they were talking about one of the co-founders of this this care home for child victims that have been sex trafficked in D.C., Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and talking about how not only how these sex traffickers are targeting youth, and they are like in this one situation, a pimp essentially targeted this girl. You know, I'm in my late 20s, told her she was pretty. She's hearing all the things. She's 12.
This is all through social.
It's all through socials, all through her Instagram. It was 12 when he started reaching out to her. She said she started responding to him. And then he started saying to her, you know, if you send me naked pictures, I'll pay you $50 a photo. And even if you're not a girl in a bad situation, $50 for a kid is a lot of money. And so...
Hell, an adult's like, go $50.
Yeah.
Like that's a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
At that
And
age.
so she started doing it. And then he also asked her for her password. And apparently this is also a strategy. They will, you know, do the grooming, develop the relationship, establish connection, ask for the password of the victim so that they can then post the photos of the victim to the victim's social account or a burner, like a second account. Think about it. There's so many kids that have burner accounts and their parents only see the one. And that way the pimp is then using that account to market the victim. Like, so naked photos under this girl's name, making it seem as if, oh, she's doing it. You know, she's promoting this content.
Oh my God.
So then she started getting other men then reaching out to her in the DMs, scheduling an appointment to have sex with her. And in this story, you know, she goes on to do it because she feels bad. You know, she was so vulnerable. She had a relationship with the pimp, right?
Don't want to let him down.
Who's just, and the relation was more of a friendship.
I wonder if she ever even seen him, because I guess he could do all that from anywhere in the world.
Exactly. And so the thing was, so she goes on, right, to when she goes to the care house, they're like, oh, the first thing, the co-founder said, the first thing I do whenever a new victim comes in, the first thing I ask for is their social handle. Because I know, like, 9 times out of 10, that is how they were trafficked. And she's like, and a lot of times, she literally goes, this co-founder, she's like, I've had so many conversations with Instagram to try to get naked photos and sexually explicit photos removed. And she said it's pretty much, she does this so often, and that she actually has DC law enforcement asking her, like, hey, can you help us out here and get Instagram to take this down? Because she's like, it's not an easy process to get Instagram to remove photos. And which is disgusting, which is so sick, because, again, like you were saying, AI, sure, someone can use AI and take the photo of somebody and, you know, superimpose another body on their head or whatever. But the technology available and the tools available and the algorithms available to also find these types of photos.
That's what I'm saying.
And these words that they could strip them out. Do fucking better, Meta.
That's disgusting. And yeah, same thing. I'll look at the camera for you too, because that pisses me off, knowing that some of these women, like Chelsea Handler, how quickly her shit will get flagged and taken down, because as a grown ass woman, she think, you know, she's being funny, even if she's being serious. I'm a grown ass woman. I'm 40. I'm showing my tits, and you're worried about me. You're taking this down. You know exactly who I am and why I'm doing it, and you're flagging my shit as inappropriate. But you see someone who looks like they may be underage, and you're not immediately flagging that content.
Right.
It's disgusting.
It's so gross. And I actually, just because it was so jarring, I have to like look at the quote. Because I think I put it on here. Oh, it says that this gets even worse. Okay. So the co-founder.
I know what you're trying to say.
This makes me sick. The co-founder of Courtney's House in DC is, again, this house that's for victims of child sex trafficking. And I think it's one of the like only that's for just children. Which is
so fucking sad.
At least in the DC area. But so the co-founder said that, again, she, in 2020 and 2021, I think her last name, Front. Anyway, you can read the article. I'll post it in the show notes. Said that in 2020, 2021, she had discussions with Instagram about conducting sex trafficking training on its platforms. And this co-founder was a victim of sex trafficking herself in the 80s and 90s. And she said, you know, when she was sex trafficked, it was an ad that was put in a paper. It wasn't instant. It wasn't that night, that minute, ease of entry. She said, so she has these discussions in 2020 and 2021 with Instagram about conducting a staff training to help prevent child trafficking on its platforms. She said the training didn't go ahead After a long back and forth conversation on a video call, Instagram executives said they wouldn't pay her standard fee of $3,000, instead allegedly offering $300. And when The Guardian went to Meta didn't deny this comment. You're not going to pay a woman $3,000, which in my opinion, that was largely discounted for her. You don't care about the problem. It's so gross.
We're all calling you out. We all see you. We all think you're fucking disgusting. So do better, Zuckerberg. Fuck off. That's really fucking disgusting.
It's really gross. And then this other part from the article. So, okay, given that Meta is saying, nope, we know that sex trafficking is a problem, because it's also one of the biggest problems for these social media platforms. It's like the sex trafficking is a huge issue, right?
Yes.
So this guy, Luke Goldworm, a former assistant district attorney in Boston, who has investigated and prosecuted human sex trafficking cases for years, says that he has encountered numerous, he's seen numerous exchanges like of, a pimp of sex trafficking, right? And he said from 2019 until
social media sex trafficking.
Social media, sorry. From 2019 until he left his job in October of 2022. So that's shy of 2 years. He said the department's caseload of child trafficking crimes on social media platforms increased by 30% each year. And the quote was, "We're seeing more and more people with significant criminal records move into this area. It's incredibly lucrative," he said. "A trafficker can make up to $1,000 a night. Many of the victims he saw were just 11 or 12, and most of them were Black, Latinx, or LGBTQIA+.
My jaw is literally, oh my God. And
those groups, again, the marginalized that don't...
This is why I'm also, again, I'm going to say it. I am freaked out of even... This is why I am freaked out of even posting Angel on my private account, because... Think about, we're saying this is the ease of entry. This is where it says the criminals are going there.
Right. Yeah.
And we think of these things where, people are like, look up who's the sex offender in your neighborhood.
Yes.
And, always remember that it could be oftentimes when a child is sexually assaulted, it's someone they know.
Yep.
And now your ease of entry, and it's like, let me just post my child to my 1,000 followers,
and that's another
wild
that where we will put a post, or I'll put a post on it, and we'll talk about it in another episode. But just like you're saying, where when we were kids, I remember Mom saying that too. She's like, I always remember that stat of like 1 in 4 children will be sexually abused, and I have 4 kids, and like you look,
scares you.
You can go online and see the sex traffickers in your area because obviously it's court mandated.
Yeah,
but what parents, you hear those horror stories of, like Morgan was saying, a lot of times the sexual abuse can happen with someone that is in the community or that, your child knows. But the posted on it comment is, that's why you also, y'all, millennials change the way that we were raised, which is start having the sex talk conversation way earlier than you need to. I'm talking like, again, another topic, but there's a way to talk about sex with children so that they have the vocabulary to understand what's happening to them so that they can tell you.
Yeah.
So especially with girls starting to get their periods now at 8 years old.
No, and that's the thing. And I think what Stacey, just so people can understand, again, we're going to save that. I'm sure people are going to be like, can you do a full pod on it? We will. But if this is for some reason I just
made a note.
The only episode that you listen to, what we're saying is that where we were raised with using nicknames for our body parts and things like that, you need to, like, I have those conversations now with Angel that, like, penis, no one is allowed to touch your penis. If anyone ever is, it's a doctor, and mommy and daddy are there with you. If our nanny is helping you or auntie is helping you go to the bathroom, but anyone I get very specific on who can help you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
He knows his uncles and aunts that can help him go to the bathroom. Those sorts of things, you have to have the conversations earlier.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. So we recorded this little excerpt outside of our normal recording. So if you're just listening to this, this is just a little add-in that we did after. If you're watching it, you can see we're wearing very different clothes and my braids are out. But we wanted to record this because after we listened back to this episode when we were editing it, a few things. One, we realized it kind of sounded like we were only saying that in the sex trafficking part of how anyone can be sex trafficked from social media, that it was really only children of marginalized groups or, coming from broken homes and things of the
very
like.
Obvious vulnerabilities.
Yeah, which is not the case. But even me saying that, I feel like I would probably still be listening like, well, not my, not here, not where I live.
Mm-hmm.
But oddly enough, so we recorded this topic, social media, because like we had said at the beginning, Morgan and I were talking about how our issues with social media as far as using it for this podcast, right? Keeping up with it. We didn't tell anybody else that we were recording this, and we didn't tell anybody else that this was a topic we were going to record. But people in our lives, friends of ours, in our network group, family, coincidentally, multiple people reached out within a few weeks about their child or their family member, a child in their family,
close friend,
being attempted to be trafficked.
Yeah.
And it was via social media for one, and another, it was in person. And if you're still hearing that and saying, oh, well, on the social media side, I'm really like strict. I watch my kids' activity. I use some of those parental control apps. Remember what we talked about in the beginning of this episode? We had code for how we used Instant Messenger when we were kids.
Yep.
And we used Instant Messenger. Our parents didn't know about it or didn't use it in the way that we did. Kids are going to be smarter than you at these things. And also, it doesn't catch everything. There are other websites, chat rooms, forums, all the like,
which was one thing kids. That I was so blown away. I had never heard of Monkey something or other, where one friend of ours was targeted, and it's think of it like a chat room, but it's an app, and you just need to be, I think it's like 12 or 13 and above, but there's no verifying of what someone's age is. So someone could be 50 or they could be 10.
Or a lot of kids like online gaming.
Yes.
That's live.
Exactly.
And that came up as well. You think you're talking to kids. How do you know? How do you know your kid's talking to a kid?
Right.
That's a grown-ass man.
Right.
That's a grown-ass woman. And I will say, with the people that reached out to us, or that not even reached out, that just came up in conversation, gender, it doesn't matter the gender. Yep. The stories we talked about here in the article we read,
I was shocked by actually the gender and age and the approach. People, like you said, one was an in-person situation and one was online.
In person in a public place, but and I would say there were two incidents that we're closer with. Some of the most affluent zip codes in the United States.
Yes. And that I think is the biggest thing, because I think when we were recording that first episode, when I listened to it back,
I should say some of the richest affluent suburbs.
Yes.
Because I think if I said, oh, this happened and somebody was living in Los Angeles, you're like, oh, it's a whole big city, or Houston.
Right. They're exposed to all these things.
Two of the richest zip code suburbs in the United States.
Best schools, all the things. And so that is what really prompted us to go back and say, we need to hammer this home, because, we had mentioned the, Venmoing, how from Courtney's house, talked about how, the kids would get Venmoed. And I think you're thinking in that moment, you're thinking, Courtney's house is in DC. You're thinking, oh, someone needs to get Venmoed. They're hungry. They don't have parents that are looking out for them. No, one of the people that we know that was Venmoed, again, like Stacey said, like one of the wealthiest communities. So, and in that moment, I was like, well, of course, I didn't have issues finding food, or, I was always was clothed. I had great birthday parties, but I didn't have my own money. So of course it was so exciting when someone would give me $50.
Right. And I personally knew someone when I was a adolescent that was sex trafficked, and it was in person and was getting money for things.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're a kid and somebody wants to buy you a new pair of Jordans, you're it's like, oh, well, I didn't, even if you're like, you know, you rationalize it. Well, it's just doing this.
Yep. And I think, and that's why we just wanted to pop in and give this quick like add on, because we want to just emphasize and double down that this can happen to you. It can happen to your kid. And I'm telling you, if it can happen to these folks that we're talking about, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah. And just think of how
and the way
easily.
that, except I'll say this, it can happen to anyone that has a smartphone.
Yep.
It wouldn't have happened. Sure, the in-person thing would have happened, but the in-person one, it went.
But again, mitigating risk.
Mitigating risk, exactly. We were vulnerable as kids for in-person stuff. But
not only mitigating risk, but also reminding that you need to have these conversations. And like we said, you have to give your kids the vocabulary to be able to even tell you, you know, what's wrong. And I think that that's the reminder too. Like the in-person said, no, this is, you know, went right away.
Right. Yeah.
Told the parents. And,
police were called.
Police were called. It was a whole thing. You know, so it can happen.
So thank God they had the conversation. God. But I love you saying that like it's mitigating the risk. It's that ease of entry. It's a lot easier to interact with a stranger, to reach out to a stranger on the internet than it is, you know, if you're a 12-year-old girl, how often are you by yourself in the mall?
Right.
That's not often.
Right. And it doesn't take a lot to do some context clues to figure out where you hang out all the time if you're using
social media
and you're saying where you go to school or your kid goes to school, where you live, where you're on vacation, when you're not at home, what team they play on, who their teacher is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was just a quick popping in, adding on to this because we thought it was really important. Back to the show. Bye.
That's the extreme, right, of like what could happen. But it's also the other part too, like we were saying, of just, you see us now, millennials. It's like put yourself in the shoes of the kid. That's what I see, again, as someone that doesn't have kids. I remember, and someone with the body dysmorphia, I remember, we all know, back in the day, they didn't do retouching on the school photos like they do now. I would see pictures of myself as a young girl, and I'm talking, I remember having my first communion, so that's second grade, and I hated how I looked in the dress because, one, it was the same dress my sisters wore. There you go. Me comparing myself even to my sisters. And I was like, oh, I was badder than them at this age. I don't like this. And I remember my mom still has photos of me like purposely messing up the pictures, you know, making a funny face. That's when we only had 2 takes, right?
Totally.
But that, of course, was my own mental. There was nothing wrong with me. Like I was a cute kid. It was just how I was seeing myself. But it doesn't matter. If that's how I felt at the time, I wouldn't have wanted my mom to put an album up of 50 pictures of me in the dress that I didn't like how I looked in it. But I had to wear the dress because it's just what you did.
Totally.
I wouldn't have wanted the photos of me from 8th grade where I had, you know, it looks like a social experiment with tweezers and like my eyebrows were gone.
Totally.
I wouldn't want it before I was allowed to wear makeup. And
oh my God,
again,
remember all my
acne.
smiles for literally from like, was that like 5th grade through?
I mean, people are putting pictures of their kids.
Anyone that's watching this is my smile for like 6 years. Like I couldn't fucking figure it out. Do I want that? Do I want that?
And
out
that's
there
even,
permanently.
But then I think of people where they're like, potty training's going well and taking pictures of their kids on a toilet. And I'm like, that's really fun for you to share with your family chat. It's not about me seeing it, me being like, I don't need to see that. When I don't, truthfully, I don't need to see it.
I don't need to see it.
You know, it's weird. But would your kid want to see a picture of themselves shitting on a toilet that then their friends can go see, their friend's mom can go see?
Yeah, it's not about that they're not going to, that they won't care when they're 30. Sure, they're not going to care. It's about when they're in middle school.
Yeah. And also,
like, no.
How, especially for the parents who, because I think this is an important one, like you're not thinking about, now it's a conversation because again, every kid likes smartphones and all of that, but even 10 years ago, people weren't saying, when are you going to let your kids have social media? Now, and one of this was even our sister Kiki's had such a good comment. She's like, if I start putting my kid on social media, how can I tell her that she can't have social media before she's 18 if she's already on my account under 18?
You're like, so why do you get to post pictures of me and my life?
And then, of course, she could say these things, well, I'm an adult. This is an adult thing. But you are already creating that digital footprint.
Well, it's the digital footprint, but also like you're already saying, not only is it an adult thing, but like it's something that you should want, you want to be a part of because I'm already making you a part of it.
But you're also like, I don't need your permission, actually. Right. I'm telling you, don't let this person touch you. Don't let this random person take a picture of you at the park.
But then I'm going to share your photo with 1,000 people all these people
I went to college with that you don't know, you'll never meet, but I want them to see you and that you just rolled over for the first time and, like blowing bubbles.
You're the first, right. You're the first kid to swim in the age group. Everyone's got to know.
And again, I love the idea of digital documenting, like for us, like, right? Like even this podcast. Yeah. I love that I had the interview with my parents on here because it's something I wish I had done with my grandparents.
I did do it. Actually, I just didn't show it to you. So we'll talk about that later.
Well, no, I know, but like, so like honest conversation and like that they knew, right? And so we think about that and it's great that we can go back and everybody loves like when your iPhone and even, Facebook gives you that 3 years ago today and it's a memory. We love that it can capture those memories. But you're like, do we need to have it become the baby book? Like, you can do a digital baby book. You could just like, maybe like share it with your family. But like, I literally like, again, I don't have a child, but I don't need to fucking know the milestones.
Well, it's that.
Sorry, now that's me venting as someone without a child. That's like, guys.
No, I mean, I have a child and I don't need to know the milestones. And it's fine. Like, I'm not saying that every kid on Instagram that I'm connected to, I don't want to see their milestones. Of course, I want to see like my really close friend. Like, of course, I find that
and I get it for the connection. Some people do that.
But I'm just saying, like, I think a lot of people that are posting don't really know everyone that's seeing those posts. But
go through. That's an exercise. Because that's the thing. I could
scrub your accounts.
Because I do know quite a few people that are like, I live on the other side of the country, the world from my family. And there are a lot of different tools you can use, but I get it. If you're keeping up with the masses, like you do want to update your, high school close friends, your college friends, basically, if you're thinking of everybody at your wedding, let's say you have a 150 person wedding, that you do want to keep updated on your kid's life because you don't live near them.
Yeah.
Okay. I would really scrub your follower list to make sure there's not anybody in there that you don't know, number one, also you never met, or that you no longer want to see it.
Well, and also be
and you can still make the smaller, like just
to close friends.
Because I do have friends that do that, just to close friends.
Yeah.
And really make an intentional list.
Yeah.
But
it's also, too, not only that, but it's also like... because I'm already thinking about like the whole back to school thing. And again, this is not because we're just being like alarmist, but because we have friends and family members that are in these roles in law enforcement that are like, do not post my first day of school and my teacher's name and my age and my height and what I like for breakfast. Like that, you are asking for your kid's identity to be stolen.
Okay, PSA, and this is important.
Seriously.
Before you move on from that topic. Again, if this is you, this is, again, we're all learning here. So we're trying to share. It's a science
experiment. None of us know.
It's a science experiment. None of us know. So sharing is caring, right? Clear is kind. Not everybody in their jobs has the cyber training that I have and that I'm like, totally. What? And is working with, engineers all day.
Right.
If you are hearing this and you're like, oh my God, I did post the first, middle, and last name of my child, and the day they were born,
and the weight,
and even the location, the hospital they were at.
Take it down.
And my name. We all know how easy it is. We all know how easy it is to Google somebody. Remove it. Somebody can steal your kid's identity like that, and you think it doesn't happen? It does.
It does.
Infants and old people, Social Security numbers getting stolen. Like, whoa. Like, those are two very vulnerable groups because you're not going and checking your kid's credit history.
No.
And I'm telling you, you should get an alert. You should also get a credit report alert for yourself. Mm-hmm. But that is real. I won't go into it, but I personally have some horror stories from people that I worked with. Again, in technical careers, who had to go through hell with a child's identity getting stolen or with, their like a grandparent's identity.
Yeah, which is why, again, I say I have it for me. I have it for our household, but I really believe in the insurance. It's not expensive through USAA. Yeah. It's like a yearly fee.
And there's many different providers.
It's totally worth it because then you have that little bit of security. I'm not saying then just use the same password for everything, but I'm saying at least it's a little bit of security that if something does happen,
and everybody knows someone that's been hacked on Instagram, where you're like, all of a sudden Janice now has removed all the photos and there's all these, or not removed all, but like the last 5 pictures are her like in very sexually explicit.
Yeah. Or it's obviously
that's not her.
Yeah.
Right. You really should change your password too on social media often, just like you would like your bank account, but you really should use an app on your phone that's like a password keeper.
I really love those automatic Google make them up for me strong passwords.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and save it to the
I love to reset
cloud.
a password. I forget all my passwords.
Exactly.
I know I'm going to reset it.
And again, passwords, it really needs to be more steps than that, but that I won't be the specialist on.
Two-factor authentication.
I have to say this because again, and I know obviously we are posting, you guys follow us on social, we're all on it, we all have bad behavior. I shouldn't even say bad behavior we don't know is bad. TikTok,
yeah,
at the beginning of the pod when we launched, we were posting on TikTok because everybody was like, diversify, use all the social media channels, and TikTok's, they're like, and everyone was saying it to us that gave us advice in terms of they were like, I know, I don't want to use TikTok, but TikTok, it's so good to reach people, to go viral algorithm. I was like, I just don't want to be on it for the, again, more ADHD distraction in my life. So again, being someone in the technical world, I was like, I got to do my own research on this because, of course, I hear all the things about data being stolen and all that. And I did go, and I go back and find the article because I'm pretty sure I saved it for myself as a reference point. But this person was pretty high up at, I wanted to say it was Apple or something, big tech company. Anyway, had rapport, has the resume. And she was like, look, was talking more about if you're going to use TikTok, how to use it responsibly. Mm-hmm. And so because people will be like, well, you guys are talking about this, but you used it. You used to post on TikTok. I was posting on TikTok when we started the pod. Truthfully, I've stopped because, again, it's the time suck. I just have another channel. It's a lot to manage. I was using a laptop computer that I had that was a separate laptop that I had that had nothing on it. Again, I had gotten this from a previous job. So this is a blank laptop that doesn't have any of my personal information on it. This was the advice of this technical person, to use a completely different Wi-Fi network. So on your home Wi-Fi network, you can set up a guest network. I had a guest network set up that I was only using internet for with this laptop, that laptop was dedicated to me only using TikTok. The reason for this being is that, yes, your data can be stolen. This is known. This is why the US and Canada, many countries are like, this is a security risk with TikTok. Sure, other companies too, but the magnitude of it, right? And the amount of children using it. When TikTok is on your phone, it can steal data that your contacts, your personal information, if you've shared a password in a text message, if you have scanned, when you use notes on an iPhone and you can scan documents, if you scan personal documents. So basically, bank account, if you have personal information on your cell phone, TikTok in theory could steal that. Mm-hmm. Facial recognition information, photos, imaging. Again, Morgan mentioned about AI and how it's still. So I say this because some of us, because TikTok, again, was not initially marketed to us, millennial, Gen X, beyond generations. I'm telling you now, if you have it on your phone and you choose to continue to have it on your phone, that's on you. But I would highly encourage you to, when you actually open up on your phone, switch over to a guest network. But two, I would not have that shit on my phone. I really wouldn't.
I know.
I mean, that's my personal opinion. Like, maybe I'm being too cautious, but I guess what are some other, rather than just griping, like what we...
Well, and I fully appreciate that info because I didn't know any of that until you told me when we started doing, you know, the pod. Obviously you shared it with me and I was like, holy shit, you know, it's just good to have that information.
I mean, and look, you can be, maybe someone's like, oh my gosh, I look very cautious, but I'm sorry. We all know our phones are our lives now. I'm like, there's too much. I've been hacked too many times.
You've been hacked.
Go on your phone. Everybody with an email address, everybody with a pulse. If you have a digital footprint, your email,
can be hacked.
A password has been part of a data breach.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That's why we've all gotten the letters. Yeah.
I'm like trying to mitigate risk, right? If you're like, you know what, the reward for me to be on TikTok is better for me than the risk.
Then use a guest account. Great.
Great. Or like you do you, but you've been warned.
You know.
The more you know.
So yeah, I think to wrap it up though, because I feel like this has been great. And, you know, again, we're, I think, the lucky millennials that we just so happened to be exposed to social media when we were the way that we were. And even now, you know, like they have all these psychologists giving all this information, angels for.
Yeah.
I'm not that unlucky parent, you know, that and I shouldn't even say unlucky, but, you know, I've seen just other parents say, like, I wish I knew then. I know now I'm doing as much as I can. But so I think what it is like, you know, you decide what's best for your family.
Yeah.
When your kid's going to be allowed to have social media, all of those things.
Like boundaries, man.
But I personally think, right, just apply, you know, I'm not going to go into, of course, I'm a believer in, you know, no social media until 16 or, you know, 16, 17 or 18. But if you, whether it's you or your kids, try and limit the social media. You know, if you're going to use it, like I use it too, but be aware of when you start it. And when, you know, put an alarm, we've got alarms on our phones right where the social media is. Be aware of 5 minutes versus, you know, or 10 minutes versus 40 minutes. You know, remove, if you need a break, remove the app completely from your phone. It's a game changer. Or, you know what I do too, because we have to use the app now because of the pod. Rather than having my Instagram like easily accessible on my regular screens that I use, I only have it available to find when I search it.
Same.
So then I found that makes a huge difference for me. I don't just click it because it's not there, because it is like, it's even the design of the app, you know, is to like draw us in. So take those breaks, you know, be mindful, be present. You know, we hear from folks like Jay Shetty, and I mean, really it's everyone now. I feel like is talking about mindfulness and meditation and giving a pause and giving a pause when you're on a break.
But that's the thing, is you can still post the pictures from the vacation, but like do try just to be present and don't post them in real time.
Right. Do it like when we were in college, because, again, we had to post them a week later.
Anybody that lives in your area, like, guess who's not home?
That's a big thing that I always think about. I never, I'll tell just so you know, we're never live posting from our social media account. I've had friends too that have been victims of that, been robbed because someone was on their social media in an affluent area going, me too. Let me go click. People knew, everyone accounts. Knew they were on vacation. They knew he was
there, and if they had public accounts, they were going and seeing us there, and they like did a neighborhood.
Same exact thing. I know someone that happened to.
Yep. And the piece I would say is like, again, Stacey speaking, I don't have children, so easy for me to be like, look what you're doing to your kids. Be intentional. Put yourself in your child's shoes. Think of elementary school you, middle school you, college you, high school you, puberty you, prepubescent you. If you wouldn't want your parent to go right now into all of their photo albums, if I could go to my mom's house right now. She's got stacks, Bibles, you know, bookshelves full of photo albums. If I wouldn't say, Joni, go ahead, scan them all, put them online, I wouldn't do it to my kid. And I also think about like that. Think of an embarrassing moment. Think of something that happened to you in each of those transition times when you were in elementary school, middle, high school, or those times where like you could have gotten kicked off the team, or, you know, someone started a rumor about you or whatever. Imagine that backed with photo or video. The habits, it's like, or if your account gets hacked, like I've had many friends that their account gets hacked. It's got tons of photos of their kids. I'm like, well, now who has those photos?
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, I am thinking of this other thing that I say to Angel too, which is like, and obviously I'm speaking to a 4-year-old, so I say this in a different way, but like, I'm always happy to be the person that you blame. I'm always happy to be the person that, oh, my mom said I'm not allowed to spend the night, you know, until I'm making up an age because I haven't figured that out yet. I'm not allowed to spend the night with anyone that isn't, you know, an auntie or uncle until I'm 10, or, you know, I'm happy to be the bad guy for you. And I say this in the same way to you parents right now, without asking your kid, do you want me to be the bad guy for that? Or I can always be the bad guy if you want to be off social media and, you know, tell your friends that I'm the reason. Make the decision for them. Kids don't want you to be their friend. They want you to be their parent.
Boundaries and discipline equal love.
Equal love. And I will say this too. I commend Kim Kardashian for being open in that recent episode of the Kardashians about how she realized she wasn't giving any boundaries.
That to her. Discipline equals love. I added in boundaries.
Yeah, the boundaries, exactly. And I like that, you know, Khloe was like, I have boundaries. They're not allowed to have this and that. And Kim said, I was wrong. And I'm going to adopt that policy, because I think there's a lot of people right now that have that fear of disappointing their kid and all that stuff.
It's not, I think it's disappointing their kid, but I think it's also that
it's easier. It's easier to let your kid scroll than it is to have to be engaged with your kid.
And I've had friends or teachers say that administrators have said you can't tell the parent to not use the iPad, that the kid is having issues. I have a friend who teaches kindergartners and had said that as far as developmentally, like kids are behind. They literally they don't even have the thumb strength to cut with scissors because they're scrolling. Like, you're laughing.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because that's fucking crazy.
That's real life. And was told by an administrator you can't tell the parent they can't use the iPad because the iPad is probably the babysitter.
And I understand here, and let me also do a caveat.
So, like, occupationally,
let me also
therapy.
Let me also do a caveat. I am not talking to, and I'm saying this applies for and is valuable information for everyone, but I am not talking to the single mom that works 3 jobs that is not home from 3 until 6, and, you know, they're exposed to the iPad or they're allowed to watch shows during that time. I don't even, God bless you, you know, to figure out how you're even handling that world that you're in.
Situations.
So, you know, don't come at us for that.
But watching a show is different than you can go be on social.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I am talking about, you know who you are if you are handing your kid an iPad to take a break. And I'm not saying I let Angel watch, you know, his Bluey in Spanish. That's a whole other episode. But, you know, I let that happen, but it's a limited, he gets 2-3 episodes of 7-minute Blueys.
I would say something too for people, especially like those that are really in the conversation of, like, you know, I have the middle school or high schooler that I have to decide, like, when is this rule, or I already let them have it. What do I do?
How do I take it away? Yeah.
If you kept your high school yearbooks, go grab them all. And then you go to your Instagram tonight and write every comment that somebody wrote in your yearbook. And then why don't you go through, and any picture that you were in, go to the index, find where you were tagged, and take pictures of every one of your high school pictures and put them on your Instagram. See how it is.
See how it feels.
Why aren't you doing it? Are you glad? Weren't you glad that it was in a physical book and not for the world to see? You know,
yeah.
Anyway.
And again, it's boundaries are love, disciplines love.
But
yeah.
Also in this, help your friends out, help your community out. Like we've said in other episodes, a lot of time it takes that one person to start action. Talk to the other people in your community, get a friend group, get a parent group, do talk to your schools, because I know there's certain schools, like a school in Connecticut just implemented having the cell phone bags. They're a cell phone free school. So during the day, kids don't have it. They said when this experiment started, they got tons of backlash from parents, from kids about, you know, what is my kid going to do? And the kids were pissed. And then the kids were like, you know, that was pretty fun. We started like talking to each other at lunch.
Which my jaw dropped when I saw that. I was like, oh my God. I'm flashed back to my middle school years and my high school years of laughing so hard at lunch that it was a regular thing that I spit my drink out.
Oh my God. It was so funny at lunch. I was sitting there watching this TikTok by myself where my 30-second attention span, like, again, I've had ADHD my whole life. I didn't get diagnosed until I was 30. Y'all, talk to me if you want to talk about attention span. You know, like, it was bad enough Facebook in college. Like I said, I used to have to take my log out of Facebook and put my phone in the other room. But here we are. But anyway, hopefully there is a sense in community. Know that it's a conversation, that it's like we said earlier, nobody knows what to do.
This isn't us. And I'm going to leave it here. This isn't us being judgmental. This is us having done.
We're alarmed.
Having been in the tech industry for quite a while now, and having family and friends in the law enforcement, and having been hacked, and just being
all
obsessed with reading.
Personal experience.
So these are all just, and having so many friends that are teachers. So this is all just that personal experience, and so many people saying to us through this podcast, but as friends, like, thanks for letting me know that I didn't know. So it's seriously a welcome in. It's not an accusation. It's we're all learning. We're on the science experiment of social media.
And if you too, whether it's you with the child or you realizing, hey, starts with me, I too am addicted, I need to take a break.
Right.
Also, if you're the person that's like, I couldn't do that, like, I couldn't remove Instagram, or you're like, I couldn't, my kid would be so upset. That's like if someone said, could you stop drinking? It's an addiction. And you're like, I could not, like, I could never, like, it's a dependency we all have right now on it.
And a lot of things too, like alcohol, yes, is an addiction, but there's also, it's not fully addictive for everyone. You know, it's like, I had to stop drinking because of all my health issues. So I'm saying you only feel like you can't until you actually try.
Yeah. But, you know, studies don't lie. It's just as addicting as cocaine, those dopamine.
Yeah. Anyway, with that, welcome in.
We'll see you on social.
We'll see you on social. I know. So forgive us when we are trying to be better about using the business suite on Meta, so that you guys are getting more behind the scenes content.
But that was the thing. Because of this, we're just realizing too, like, our bad, at least
we're bad.
My bad
we
behavior.
know we're bad at, our bad behavior. And we also know that we're bad at posting. So forgive us about that, but still, you know, like us, heart us, follow us, share us. Oh, and also remember, or I shouldn't say remember, because we're slowly getting the word out about this, but our first 100 reviews. So if you on Apple or on Spotify, if you screenshot
that Hot 100,
screenshot and DM us that Hot 100,
the Hot 100,
you are all going to get a sticker like this with our faces on it, and you will get that sent to you. So go ahead and review, and
you'll get an invitation to our OnlyFans. Just kidding, but your ears perked up. New social media.
Brad, go to music. Go to music.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. Divas.
Diffs.
Diffs.